Carlock, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And now our youth council member will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of agenda. I have not been made aware of any changes to the agenda. I have a motion by Ms. Neubauer, seconded by Vice President Mangioli. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda for tonight. Next up, Council and Youth Committee reports. We'll start with the Youth Council representative, Mr. DeGrande.
Good evening, President Carlock, Mayor Barnett, council members, and citizens of Rochester Hills. I'm Lucas DeGrande, a senior at Notre Dame Prep High School. I've been a part of the Rochester Hills Government Youth Council for the past 2 years, and I currently serve on the Advisory Traffic and Safety Board Committee. The Youth Council is currently preparing for our upcoming Cultural Fair event, an event designed to strengthen community connection in Rochester Hills. By featuring different dances, foods, and customs, the fair allows residents to learn more about traditions and backgrounds that make up our community. Our next meeting will be this Wednesday, March 11th. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mangioli.
Thank you, President Carlock. So I am, again, bringing the handouts, not a display as opposed to a slide. I am on the OPC board with Ms. Menino, and they had our board meeting was last week. The board meets on the first Thursday of each month. So if you're ever interested in coming to an OPC, 50 and plus, it's a great place to be. But they had their audit report, which was exceptional. All of the things that they're doing, their fund balance is in great shape, and they have a lot going on in the building. We also did have a lot of residents at the meeting. So 30 plus must have been there last week to talk to us about their opinion on different aspects of the OPC, and the board has taken on some challenges to address their different policies that the residents would like to see adjusted. So we will be working on those over the next couple of months to make sure we're being responsive to residents' concerns. About the resident, non-resident, full classes, capacity at the building, there's a lot that's going on, and we want to make sure we're being responsive to their concerns. So if you want to know anything more about it, please feel free to reach out to me, and you're all welcome to come to the OPC on that first Thursday of each month. Thank you, and that's it for President Carlock.
Thank you, Vice President Mangioli. I don't see any other council committee reports, so we will move on. Consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion. If any council member or citizen requests discussion of an item, it will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion. I have a motion by Councilwoman Neubauer, seconded by Councilwoman Menino. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up, ordinance for introduction. Item 2026-0082, request for acceptance for first reading, an ordinance to add Article 5, Turkey Management, to Chapter 14, Animals of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to prohibit the feeding of turkeys, list exceptions, repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations.
Good evening, President Carlock, Vice President Mangioli, City Council, Mayor Barnett. You have before you a request to essentially create a new ordinance for prohibiting the feeding of turkeys, as you mentioned. This came due to a presentation to City Council actually by a citizen maybe a month ago, and Council, at least members expressing a desire to pursue this further. And so what you have before you today is essentially an ordinance specifically for turkey feeding enforcement, working with code enforcement and our attorney team. We have completed this separate than the deer ordinance per their recommendation. So I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Elwert. We do have some comments. Mr. Blair.
Thank you, President Carlock. Appreciate you bringing this to us, Ken, and boy, you turned that around quickly, so thank you for that. It's very similar to an ordinance that we have for feeding of deer, and that's a particular interest in my district where we have a lot of deer. And one of the things that residents ask quite a bit is, how do we enforce that? And I'm never quite sure what to tell them. It's like, do you snap pictures of people doing it? Do you send the address and we go out and look through binoculars or something? How does that actually work, and would it be the same for the turkeys?
Yes, on the last answer. So essentially working through code enforcement, you would call City Hall, either the Parks Department or code enforcement directly if you believe you have a case. I hate to say take pictures of neighbors on those type of things, but we go out and inspect. In fact, even the gentleman that came into City Hall, we had been out to, or code enforcement in the building department had been out to his site before, and couldn't find evidence, but it is sometimes difficult, as you alluded to in the photos. So yeah, contact the city, either the building department or Parks and Natural Resources, and request we come out and check out what's going on.
And just along that same line with the deer, how many calls do we get to code enforcement for deer feeding in a typical season?
Not a lot, and we don't get a lot of turkey feeding either, but we do get some, and we're aware it's an issue. I don't have a specific number for you off the top of my head, but I could certainly provide it.
I just want to make sure, if we're going through the effort to bring this to fruition, I just want to make sure that we've got a good framework for enforcement, because that's, I think, what the resident ultimately wants to see happen, and that's what I'd like to see as a fruit of all your labor to this as well. So appreciate it, Ken.
Sure, and that's specifically why code enforcement wanted this separate, so it's easier to enforce and write a ticket if they count something other than being a generic wildlife issue. So.
President Carlock, I move this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Blair.
Move this for a first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. I have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Ms. Neubauer. Yeah, Marvy. We do have additional comments. Mr. Lindberg.
Yes, thank you very much, President Carlock. Just a question for you, sir, for clarification. So this is regarding intentional feeding of turkeys, and live plants such as raspberry bushes and blackberry bushes and whatnot are allowable.
Correct. Yes, it is. It doesn't have to do with any type of plantings. It's basically throwing something on the ground, which would also attract deer as well as turkey. But
all right, thank you.
Yep.
Ken, does this basically mimic the goose feeding ordinance? Do we have one for geese? I believe we do, right?
Some, yes. Yeah, I mean, the wildlife ordinances, especially at this level, are all very similar in that they all respond to the same type of food and do that type of thing in a similar enforcement style. Again, calling us and coming out and checking is the way to go. But I think goose enforcement, I think, is a little different because there are, nest eggs and removal permits and some other things involved in that too that you're aware of. You see those. But so it's similar but different.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Ms. Neubauer. I don't see any further comments, so I will read the resolution. Resolved that an ordinance to add Article 5, Turkey Management, to Chapter 14, Animals of the Code of Ordinances to the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to prohibit the feeding of turkeys, list exceptions, repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations is hereby accepted for first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Elwert. Next up, item 2026-0096, request for acceptance for first reading, an ordinance to amend sections 54-466, 54-467, and 54-472 of Chapter 54, Fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to change the vehicle fee for Bloomer Park, clarify language regarding senior, military, and handicap accessible annual passes, repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations. Mr. Elwert.
Good evening again, and we have with us Kelly McBride, our Parks Manager as well, who's responsible for sort of implementing these type of things. And so, yeah, you have before you a request to essentially modify the daily entry fee at Bloomer that has been in existence for many, many years, and change that to a $1.50 an hour park mobile fee, which we are familiar with Innovation Hills, at least the process that we use there. And in addition, correcting essentially a few things that were missing from 2 of the 3 parks in regard to discounts on annual passes, in regard to senior passes, military, and handicapped individuals on that. So it's essentially just cleaning up that language and changing the Bloomer entrance fee from $5 to $1.50 per hour.
Thank you very much. We do have some comments. Ms. Menino.
Just a follow-up question, Mr. Elward. So how many parks now will have the park mobile after Bloomer?
Just 2. It will be Innovation Hills and Bloomer.
Okay, and then is it proposed for Nowicki? We'll have it in Nowicki
At this
now.
point, administration's sort of reviewing, the final options, if you will. We'll be bringing more detail to you during the budget process for 2027. Nowicki Park won't be open until roughly halfway through 2027, so we're just sort of crossing our T's and dotting our I's on a final recommendation. So.
Okay, but just for right now, it's Bloomer and Innovation with the park mobile?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you very much. Vice President Mangioli.
Thank you, President Carlock. So I think what I ended up doing is taking this motion plus the one at the end when we're buying the park mobile stations.
Kiosks, yes.
And sort of combined all my questions together. So I'll ask later to have those answers put with the machines motion, because from my understanding, this is going to be Innovation Hills and Bloomer are going to be the same, if I get, yes.
The rate?
The rate is going to
Yes.
be the same. So same, every place, and we're just leaving Spencer with the gatehouse for people to check in and out because they're a different circumstance or a different configuration than those other 2 parks, right?
Correct, yeah, substantially different sort of use base and style there, as well as, looking at long-term enforcement, how far do we want to go? So yes.
Do we ever get traffic backed up out into John R. at Spencer?
Yes. It can happen a weekend or 2 a year. It just depends. And, we communicate with our local police, and they help us manage that situation. But it's rare. And with the new entrances, I think it's even slightly better since we redid the parking lot.
Okay.
But, yes, occasionally.
Okay, so we're not looking at Spencer at this point, just Bloomer to have the fee.
Correct.
The parking things, okay. And same, everybody's,
Consistency
have
is sort of the name of the game,
It's a
and
good
what
thing.
we're trying to do as we implement these items. So yes, absolutely.
great, all right. With that, President Carlock, I move the resolution in our packet.
Thank you, Vice President Mangioli. I have a second by Councilwoman Newbauer. I do have some additional comments. Mr. Blair.
Thank you, President Carlock. Ken, I'm sorry if I missed it, but is it all of the parking spaces at Bloomer, or is it just the main, parking area after you make the turn and get in?
Sure, it would be all.
It'd be all of them?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that kind of calmed resident concerns with Innovation Hills parking when it was brought to fruition is that we did have a free option right across the street.
Correct.
And I was just wondering if any consideration was given to maybe some of the parking that people fill up last, maybe down the way, if those were free parking, was that considered? Was there?
To be blunt, it was not. Bloomer has had a parking fee in place for 25 years on that, and this is actually cheaper to the average user than a $5 entry for the average user. At Innovation Hills, the average user is there about an hour and a half, hour and a quarter,
Okay.
which is about $3, if you will, on something like that. So no, we did not consider
It
that.
just took a little bit of the sting out and helped calm people down a little bit, maybe for
Right.
the first year or something.
And
to
I think
about.
because, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
Because Innovation Hills was new, on that. It was a very different situation than Bloomer, where we have had the fee there for daily entry.
No
before.
worries. Thank you, Ken, appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Elbert, just to kind of reassure some of our residents, the annual pass will still be good at Bloomer. It's just like Innovation Hills
Absolutely,
and Spencer
yeah.
and next year Nowicki. So the $35 resident annual pass is still the best way to go if you're going to visit the parks regularly.
Yeah, we love to see residents come out and visit all the parks, even if they have a favorite that they normally go to, and that's one of the benefits of the annual pass. So yes, absolutely, it's good
Yeah,
at
perfect.
Bloomer.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, President Carlock, Council. Yeah, just a couple comments, and perhaps we'll come back with Council when we get a full year of information. But just so far, based on what we saw in Innovation Hills with the resident and non-resident permits, resident permits were up over 100%. Non-resident permits were up 70%, and non-resident contribution to our parks was up 250%. So that idea of getting non-residents to contribute in some form or fashion has been successful. And while we're still tracking, we haven't had it up for a full year, everything seems to be on track for the projections that we made, and especially Council's interest and the administration's interest in making sure that, you know, non-residents were chipping in. It is absolutely happening to an amount that I don't even know if we anticipated. So we're pleased with how it's going so far.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Seeing no additional comments, I have a motion by Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Councilwoman Newbauer. I'll read this resolution. Resolved that an ordinance to amend sections 54-466, 54-467, and 54-472 of Chapter 54, Fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to change the vehicle fee for Bloomer Park, clarify language regarding senior, military, and handicap-accessible annual passes, repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations is hereby accepted for a first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Elwert.
Thank you.
Next up, ordinance for adoption. Item 2026-0070, request for acceptance for second reading and adoption, an ordinance to amend section 138-13.101 to add a definition of data center to Article 13, definitions to Chapter 138, zoning, and to add Chapter 3, temporary moratorium, Section 138-5.301, temporary moratorium for data centers, to Article 5, schedule of regulations to establish a temporary moratorium suspending the city's processing and acceptance of applications and plans for development and improvement of data centers, to Chapter 138, zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to prescribe a penalty for violations and to repeal inconsistent or conflicting ordinances. That was a mouthful. Ms. Roediger.
Thank you. Good evening, President Carlock, Vice President Mangioli, Council, Mayor Barnett. I'm here for the second reading for the moratorium on data centers. I'm sure you guys have, unless you don't have a TV or newspaper, I'm sure you've seen that there's a lot of questions about data centers across the state of Michigan. And so we wanted to take a 6-month timeout to allow us to look at our ordinances. Just to be clear, there's nothing proposed. No one's come to us asking for one. We're just being proactive and making sure that if one were to come to us, that we would have some regulations that would be appropriate.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Roediger. Ms. Newbauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. Thank you, Ms. Roediger. I just wanted to say thank you for putting this in place, for doing it so quickly so that we have time to properly assess with facts all the information that we need to figure out this new-ish, even though there are data centers, you know, throughout the state, but this newish to us with the new proposals and the way that they are. So with that, I'd like to move the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Newbauer, seconded by Ms. Menino. Seeing no additional comments, I'll read the resolution. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby accepts for first reading an ordinance to amend section 138-13.101 to add a definition of data centers to Article 13, definitions, to Chapter 138, zoning, and to add Chapter 3, temporary moratorium, Section 138-5.301, temporary moratorium for data centers, to Article 5, schedule of regulations, to establish a temporary moratorium suspending the city's processing and acceptance of applications and plans for development and improvement of data centers, to Chapter 138, zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to prescribe a penalty for violations and to repeal inconsistent or conflicting ordinances. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roediger. Next up, public comment for items not on the agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. We don't have any blue public comment cards, so we will close public comment. Next up, legislative and administrative comments. We do have some of those today. Ms. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. We have a notice from the Oakland County Treasurer's Office about foreclosure prevention that I would like to read. The Oakland County Treasurer's Office is in the final stretch of our foreclosure prevention efforts. The tax foreclosure deadline for the 2023 and/or prior tax years is on March 31st, 2026. This means that if taxes aren't paid off by March 31st or any interested party hasn't entered into a repayment schedule with the Treasurer's Office by then, the property will be foreclosed. Since December of 2025, the Treasurer's Office has conducted over 1,000 taxpayer assistance meetings to assist taxpayers with keeping their properties by working with them to get on a repayment schedule and/or by identifying resources that may be beneficial to them in their situation. We are here to help and strongly encourage taxpayers to contact us before tax foreclosure deadline if they have any delinquent taxes for the 2023 and/or prior tax years. Taxpayers interested in scheduling a taxpayer assistance meeting may call the county at 248-858-0611, or they may visit www.oakgov.com/treasurer. That is from Robert Wittenberg, our Oakland County Treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Neubauer. That's pretty important information. Next up, Vice President Mangioli.
Thank you, President Carlock. So now, Ms. Bowen, can you share my screen? Because I didn't make slides, but I did find the OPC website because while I talked about the board previously, the OPC does have a lot of different activities going on, and next week is their Wellness Week. There are pages and pages of different events that are happening at the OPC. Some of them require you to register in advance. Others just show up and let them know that you want to be there. So please look at the OPC at their the OPC website at opccenter.org to find out more about the information they have for Wellness Week next week. The other piece is they have many different events that sell out quickly. This one is the Soiree, which is their big fundraiser that they have in June that helps fund their Meals on Wheels program. And this year, the theme is Caribbean Calypso. So get out your summer gear and come and join us over at the OPC for this summer soiree. Once the tickets go on sale, get them early because they will go quickly. The other one that I don't have up on the screen is their Top Chef. They bring in the chefs from all of the different senior living communities in our area, and those chefs compete with one another to be known as the Top Chef of Rochester Hills. It is quite a competition that happens, and if you think the soiree tickets go fast, Top Chef are probably gone by now. So that is in April. Please watch for these items coming from the OPC. If you're not a member, you can go to opccenter.org and look for all the information about the different programs and events that the OPC has to offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Mangioli. Mr. Blair.
Thank you, President Carlock. Aaron, would you share my screen, please? Thank you very much. So the Parks Department puts on some amazing outdoor engagement programs, and I had the pleasure of attending one last week. And any idea what's going on here, what we're up to?
Oh, is that maple syrup?
It's exactly what it is. We're making maple syrup. That's Lauren, our naturalist at the city, and she taught us how to identify maple trees, how to tap them, and we even sold residents their own kits for tapping maple trees and how to extract the sap and turn it into syrup. and everybody had a great time. Well, most people had a great time. It's really hard to find something for tweens, especially a boy and a girl, to enjoy. But Ben and I had a great time, and really sorry about this, Brian. I'm not sure what to make of that, but that was really sad. We all had a great time making maple syrup, though. So back to you, President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blair. Don't see any other council members, so we'll toss the ball over to the administration. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, President Carlock. Councilman Blair, you will know, as an addendum to that, we had that sign fingerprinted, and your kids' fingerprints were all over it. So, good evening, Council, and to our guests in the crowd. Thank you, Ms. Bowen, for the screen, if you don't mind. Thank you. A couple announcements, and they're really all over the place. Council's moving very quickly tonight, so I'll try not to get in the way of that. But I do want to just stop for just a moment. I know the council knows this because several of you were there, and I certainly appreciate your attendance there. But there is a very, very significant piece of legislation that is moving through the State House that would literally gut local control or local engagement with almost all forms of zoning. This is a press conference that was pulled together in about 2.5 days with nearly 100 elected officials, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, speaking out against this legislation. This legislation would, among other things, again, council knows this, but if you don't know this, it would take most of the zoning control out of the hands of locals and put it in the hands of the state. It would allow duplexes in every R residential district by right. It changes setbacks to a minimum of 5 feet on side yards and backyards. It allows mobile homes in most residential districts. It allows ADUs, which are additional accessory dwelling units, by right. By right means that it doesn't require an approval of the city council. It means if you want one, you can have one. It gives the cities a shot clock by which they have to respond to these. That's pretty aggressive. And there are probably some things I'm forgetting. Oh, it changes the minimum lot size to about 1/8 of what our current minimum lot size is now. And it changes the minimum house size to about 1/4 of what our minimum house size is now. It's designed, and it has both Republican and Democratic support, ironically, for very different purposes. But it's designed to address affordability. The authors say this is supposed to make housing more affordable, but we don't believe that it will have that impact, and quite conversely, it will have probably a negative impact on neighborhoods where this is implemented. All you need to know is that the city is taking a leadership part in combating this and challenging this, speaking up where we can. We've engaged very fully our government relations team that are engaged in every level, MML, MTA, SEMCOG, all taking leadership positions, and so we will continue to keep you updated. If you are watching this and want to write a letter to or no one writes letters, if you want to send an email to your state rep, we would certainly appreciate that, saying that we think those residents closest to the action should be able to have the most, I think, sincere and valued opinion in zoning decisions. Really important to us. It would really change not just our city, but a lot of communities around us. In fact, our kind of mantra is that this might work for some communities, but it doesn't necessarily work for all, because Michigan is not just one large community. So anyway, lots of discussion on that. We'll keep you updated as it moves forward. They're really terrible transitions to a lot of these slides, but in order to move quickly, we do want to take and thank some people that do a great job for the city. These are our crossing guards. You probably only see them heavily bundled up in the winter with a lot of neon and signs, but these folks do some amazing work. Think about how hard it is to find someone 5 days a week who will work for 90 minutes in the morning and 90 minutes in the afternoon, and be at their bus stop usually by a little bit after 6:30. So difficult to find these folks. Many of these folks have been doing it for a long time. We're always looking for more. We appreciate the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office for their work in kind of organizing this, but we really thank our crossing guards, and we're always looking for folks. If this sounds like something you'd like to do to make a few extra bucks, we certainly would appreciate it. Want to wish all those who celebrate a happy Ramadan Mubarak. We was able to celebrate an iftar dinner over at the IAGD in the city here. Always so wonderfully, warmly welcomed by our friends there, and certainly appreciate their hospitality and recognize that many are visiting the mosque this time of year, and we appreciate them being a longtime part of our community. We had a really interesting, and again, many council members were there, so appreciate this and congratulate Pamela Valentek and the Planning and Economic Development team. Really nice first meeting of the Mayor's Business Council, where we got 3 industry experts, and they shared their thoughts on where 2026 is going to go. Experts in robotics, finance, and real estate. A very interesting discussion. And obviously, this is kind of what everybody's thinking. This is actually, I can't remember if this was pre-Iran situation or not, but obviously that's changed even a lot in the last week or so. But always good to have good members of the Mayor's Business Council there. We had about 100 people show up, and we always appreciate the support. Last week, or 10 days ago or so, was the annual Rochester Regional Chamber Community Outlook Breakfast, this time with the 2 school superintendents and the mayor, Mayor Jones of Rochester, myself. Always enjoy participating in that with the chamber. It was a sold-out event, always a really fun time to share about some of the things happening in the city. It's been a busy few days. Brooke, Celeste, and I went to Career Day at Avondale High School last Friday. As we were walking in, I always say, my fear is that you end up, being placed right after someone who's got a way better career than you. Usually I'm okay. I went to the person in front of me. I said, what are you? She goes, I'm a professional athlete from Ukraine. I thought, I'm getting crushed. You are way cooler than me. And so you can tell that people left to go see her as soon as she was done. But we had a great time. We love our friends in the Avondale School District. They had 83 different careers presented from different people there, which is a pretty impressive amount of things to choose from, and we really congratulate them. Speaking of congratulations, the Avondale boys basketball team beat Rochester Adams in kind of a crosstown rivalry this last week, and tomorrow they play in the state quarterfinals. So one of just a few teams left for competing for a state championship, and we wish the Yellow Jackets good luck. And of course, we couldn't go far without wishing, just mentioning this, that this is absolutely incredible. First of all, congratulations to the Stony Creek Cougars. You see their coach on the left holding up 3 fingers. Many of them are, actually, now that I look at this picture. It's because they are the 3-time defending state champions for girls cheer. What's unique about this is that they bested their rivals, the team from Rochester, the Falcons, who finished second, and Adams, who finished third. And those 3 Rochester Community Schools have finished first, second, and third for the last 9 years. It is absolute domination statewide for teams from Rochester Hills and the Rochester Community School District. And so we congratulate all of these athletes and thank them for representing our city so well. And I'm sure we'll bring them in, President Carlock, to congratulate them and take a picture and certainly try to figure out the secret to their success. But incredible continued domination for cheer here in the city of Rochester Hills. And finally, we wish all of you a very happy St. Patrick's Day coming up next week. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barnett. Vice President Mangioli has a quick comment.
Yeah, so, Mayor Barnett, back on the homes bills that are there, you had shared the MML, the Michigan Home Program. Is this going anywhere as far as a competitive set of bills to what's being proposed?
It was introduced by Representative Tisdale, and he had another co-sponsor. I don't remember at the time who it was. It is there as a, we're not just saying no to everything. Here's one. The essence of this is there are some similarities to it, but this is all carrot versus stick. This is opt-in and achieve some benefits. The state would fund some benefits if you chose to do some of these things, but not sort of you have to get involved, you're in this no matter what. It has sponsors. There is some discussion on it. Those who are not in favor of that are coalescing around that one, but the speaker is not, has a horse in the race, and it's not our horse. So we're still advocating. We're working now to try to figure out where all the votes are, and it looks like it's close.
Okay, so the advocating piece, I do remind residents that many have a summer home or a hunting property up north, and this will impact them as well because it's a second home. So they don't vote there, but they pay taxes there, and we do want to remind our residents that if you do own property elsewhere in the state, contact those state representatives as well, because if you're on a 50-acre piece of property, you may not worry so much about another house being built near you, but some of those other communities, especially the lakefront properties, could see a significant change from what they're experiencing today. So I just want to make sure we are encouraging people, regardless of where you own your property, contact your state legislators about this.
It's a good reminder, Councilmember Mongioli, and I would say that if you live here in the city of Rochester Hills, our state rep, Mr. Tisdale, is not supportive of this resolution or this proposal, so that's great. He's with us. And perhaps just to frame this in a visual, because sometimes you hear all these things and think zoning, that's boring, I'm immediately, blocking this next few minutes of the conversation. Most of the neighborhoods in our city are relatively homogeneous. They all have 1,100 square foot homes, 1,600 square foot homes, 2,300 square foot homes, and they look somewhat similar. And what this bill would do is say, let's say you live in a neighborhood off of Tinkin Road, and it's a Pulte sub, and they all sort of look somewhat similar. They're all within a couple hundred square feet. If a house were to go away, or if someone were to just say, I'm going to buy this house as an investment property, and take that house down, they could put a duplex in. They could put multiple homes in, probably 3 on the size of the lot that currently exist, much smaller than exists now, all by right. So not any approval process of the city. And it could dramatically change the way things go. We have a lot of places in the city where we have larger, people that have a little bit of acreage, think most of the main roads. You could combine a couple of those properties and put 40 or 50 houses where now 2 exist. So there's all sorts of concerns about what kind of infrastructure the roads can bear, the water and sewer system can bear, and just kind of how you want your community to evolve. We just went through, as the council knows, a long process where 2,500 residents participated and shared their voice, vision, and views of what they want Rochester Hills to look like. And this basically says, Lansing knows best, we'll take it from here. And we just want to, I think as an inherent, belief, because we're all in local government, we believe that local government is the best unit to kind of determine, because of the processes that we go through, these deep dives with residents to say, what do you want your community to look like? That has value, and it shouldn't be taken away in a form like this. So great, great suggestion. We encourage you to contact, certainly the Speaker's office is another one. As a resident of Michigan, you can certainly contact and share your thoughts, but appreciate everyone being engaged in this. This could have probably the largest impact on the city of anything in the last 50 years.
Yes, well, thank you very much for your leadership on this and keeping us all informed. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have some final comments by Ms. Menino.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barnett. And maybe just to wrap up the conversation, has there been any movement on the timing when we think the bill will come to the floor for an actual vote? Do we know?
So it was, I'm not an expert in this, but it was moved from one committee to a different committee. I forget the name of it right now. And the idea, if when it goes to that committee, it's to move it quicker with a little less conversation. It's a smaller committee. I think there's only 5 people on the committee. And so we are very concerned that this could move in days as opposed to months. And so that's why we have been on the phone and very engaged with those larger organizations, MTA, SEMCOG, and MML, staying in the loop every single day about what we're hearing and what's happening. At the moment, I don't believe there's a hearing scheduled at the moment, but if it does happen, I'll make sure that the council knows immediately as soon as we know, we'll share that information.
Thank you very much. All right, next up, attorney's report. Ms. Christ?
I have nothing this evening.
Thank you very much. Nominations and appointments. Item 2026-0091, nomination appointment of 1 citizen representative to the Zoning Sign Board of Appeals for a 3-year term to expire March 31st, 2029. Ms. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. I would like to move for the nomination of Jason Sakis. He's currently serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals. He's a realtor as well as an attorney. He's very familiar with the things that have come up and are coming up, and he's doing a great job, so.
Thank you very much. I have a motion. I have a nomination for Mr. Sakis, seconded by Vice President Mongioli. I don't see any other nominations. So I'll read the resolution here. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby appoints Mr. Sakis to the Zoning Sign Board of Appeals to serve a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2029. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. All right, next up, new business. Item 2026-0090, request for nonprofit designation for a charitable gaming license from the state of Michigan for Rendezvous Detroit. Clerk Scott.
Hello, President Carlock, Vice President Mangioli, City Council, and Mayor Barnett. Here with us this evening is Elizabeth Bourne Nido. She is a board member for Rendezvous Detroit, and she is here tonight to request that council recognize their organization as a nonprofit. And so I will hand it over to you.
Tap the button right on
There's a
the...
little button down at the bottom, at the base. It says push.
Perfect.
Good evening, President Carlock and Vice President Mangioli and Mayor Barnett and council members. Thank you for having me tonight on your agenda. What I'm here for is we would like to have our charitable gaming license from the state of Michigan. And so our first step is to be recognized as a nonprofit. And I want to tell you the reason that we're here in Rochester Hills, my colleague, John Cooper, is a resident. We don't have an office or anything. And so when he filed the 501c3 papers, he used his address here in Rochester Hills. Unfortunately, he's been called away for business, and so I'm taking his place.
Perfect, thank you very much. Can you just tell us a little bit, like, what does Rendezvous do? Who do you,
Yes.
What is the charity, what are your donations going to? And what are you going, what is the idea behind this, this gaming license that you're looking for?
Right. Rendezvous Detroit was founded 8 years ago. We are the descendants of the original settlers, French settlers in Detroit. What we do, we are a French-Canadian cultural group. We do events. We go basically all over Michigan. That's why when we formed the 501c3, we don't have an office. We're people from all over the metro area. We've had events in the Detroit area. We participate, like they had one in Kalamazoo not too long ago, Canadiana. We did that one. I participate with the University of Michigan. They have a project in the summer where they have a floating laboratory on the Detroit River. And so we teach early Detroit history to students. So we do a lot of different things. The reason that we want this gaming license is that we also raise money for different projects. One thing that we want this for is for a raffle, and this would be for the Catholic Initiative. They are funded by the Pulte Family Foundation, and they have missions, many missions in Africa. They have some in the United States as well. They also have some in Detroit, so that's what we want this for.
Okay, and the raffle, in the paperwork, it says the raffle will take place at Mr. Cooper's residence. Is this an in-person raffle? Would it be, you would mail out, solicitations for people to participate? Like, what is the thought behind, are we looking to have a whole bunch of people come to his house to do this raffle?
We will have a number of people there. We're going to be celebrating Detroit's 325 birthday this summer, and so we'll be having various gatherings. And so we'll pull the raffle ticket then.
Okay, but the selling of the raffle tickets would not be done at that location?
Oh, no, we'll be selling the raffle tickets everywhere,
Got it.
all over the state, actually, and probably out of state as well. The Catholic Initiative, they're actually based out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. But we'll sell as many tickets as we can, and our grand prize is a weekend up at Mackinac Island.
Oh, great. Well, we do have some council comments. Vice President Mangioli.
Thank you, President Carlock. So thank you very much for doing this. I know it's not easy for a nonprofit to raise funding. I have a question because you mentioned the proceeds are going to go to the Catholic Initiative, but the application that Mr. Cooper submitted said it's going to the Basilica of St. Anne. So Is it going to the Basilica?
Well, that will be up to the Catholic Initiative, because actually the Basilica, it is not owned, I don't know if you know this, but it is not part of the Archdiocese of Detroit anymore. Did you?
That is, glad to hear, because that was going to be another question, because I know the AOD is looking at closing some of the churches in the Detroit metro area. So if they can't close St. Anne's, great.
Right. St. Anne's is the second oldest ongoing parish in the country. And so it's very important, especially it is the French ancestral church. And so the Catholic Initiative came in and they actually made a deal and even went to Rome. And so now they have made a lease with the Catholic Initiative in St. Anne's for like 200 years.
That's great. So the Catholic Initiative, is that based here in Michigan, or did you say it was out of state?
Well, the Pulte the Pulte family, they are in Florida. They're like nationwide. As you know, like they were mentioned earlier, I mean, there's Pulte places all over, and so I'm not sure exactly where their headquarters is, but I do know that the people I'm dealing with are in Fort Wayne, and that's where the Catholic Initiative is.
So will the participants in the raffle be made aware that the proceeds of the raffle may not stay in Michigan? If I buy a $10 ticket, that ticket, that $10 is going to go to the Catholic Initiative, which may give the money to some other organization within their purview.
They know it's going to go for mission work.
Mission work.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that could be a mission in Africa, or it could be to St. Anne's, because St. Anne's is getting major work done right now. So
Yes.
they will know that definitely.
Okay, so I appreciate you coming in here and making this explanation, because the proposed gaming activity letter that Mr. Cooper signed says that the proceeds, the benefits, will be donated to the Basilica. It doesn't say anything about the Catholic Initiative or that it was going to mission work. It does say that there's the grand prize is a weekend in Mackinac, so I'm glad that you were here for the clarification. I just hope that anyone who buys a raffle ticket is aware of where things are going. I also had asked Clerk Scott about this, and I guess with this designation, you can do up to 3 events per year. Or do you have others planned beyond this first one?
Are you asking me how many events we have every year?
For this, that would use the nonprofit designation, or the raffle designation, the gaming.
We will only have one raffle this year.
One raffle
Yeah.
in 2026. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we don't do this very often.
It's a lot of work. I can't imagine.
It really is, yeah. It really is, yeah. Even getting the license, yeah, this is a lot. Yeah.
And then after 3 years, you'd have to come back to us? Is that 5 years? You have to come back for the renewal of this designation? Okay. So thank you again for the clarification. And with that, President Carlock, I move the resolution in our packet.
Thank you very much. I have a motion by Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Ms. Newbauer. Ms. Newbauer.
Clerk Scott, is there any way for us to incorporate her presentation as part of the written summary of the organization's nature in order to satisfy H of what we require in Rochester Hills?
Could you update that for us?
Yes.
Yeah, she can update that and we can include it
Okay,
as a
so,
supplemental.
okay, so there's a charitable gaming license policy that we can provide to you. If there's any way that you could update that for us, then to make sure that everything's in compliance.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Ms. Menino.
Yeah, just a follow-up question, and maybe for Clerk Scott. So what we're doing here only gives them authorization to transact in Rochester Hills.
No, it can be anywhere in Michigan. So what it is their officer or their president, the individual who filed their 501c3 and their incorporation, he lives in Rochester Hills. And because they're an organization that doesn't have an established, like 100 or 1,000 Rochester Hills Drive, they are all out of their homes. It has to be for that individual where he resides, for them to come to their jurisdiction to be recognized as a nonprofit. Now, this does entitle them up to 3 gaming activities per year for 5 years. But
Okay.
yeah, it's a little bit
3 per year
different.
for 5 years, anywhere in the state of
In
Michigan?
Michigan.
Okay, that was my question.
Yep.
Okay, so we're issuing them the state license?
We are not issuing it, we're just recognizing them as a nonprofit. The state issues the license.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. That was my question.
Okay, seeing no further council comments, I'll read this resolution. Resolved that the request from Rendezvous d'Etoile, located at 3398 Aquinas Drive, Rochester Hills, Michigan, Oakland County, asking that they be recognized as a nonprofit organization in the community for the purpose of a charitable gaming license, be considered for approval or denial. All those in favor of approval? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Congratulations.
Merci beaucoup pour vos efforts. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, item 2026-0083, request for approval of an interlocal agreement for professional assessing services to be provided to the city of Rochester by the city of Rochester Hills. Ms. Taylor, Ms. Somerville.
So good evening, President Carlock, Vice President Mangioli, City Council members, Mayor Barnett. This evening, we bring before you a proposal for a interlocal agreement for assessment services between the City of Rochester and Rochester Hills. This will provide the City of Rochester professional assessing services by the City of Rochester Hills Assessing Department. This collaboration provides for another great partnership between 2 neighboring communities. Here is the background that led to this agreement. The City of Rochester is seeking a new assessment service provider and approached Rochester Hills with a request to have our assessing department provide part-time assessment services. At first, we were not sure that this would be feasible, and we felt that we needed to take a serious look at how this would impact both our department and the City of Rochester Hills. After all, our first responsibility is to the City of Rochester Hills and the citizens of our community. Although we are very familiar with Rochester, we drove the entire community to take a hard look at their inventory. We began to strategize what it would take to deliver the same high-quality assessment services that Rochester Hills receives without taking away from our community. After a great deal of consideration and planning, we have determined that by redeploying our team and pooling Rochester and Rochester Hills resources, we will be able to accomplish our tasks and maintain efficiency for both communities. So, how do we plan on doing that? Assessing is a cyclical process. Each year by statute, we are required to perform the same tasks at the same time. For example, the March Board of Review hearings are held on the same dates. By holding the hearings simultaneously here at Rochester Hills City Hall, the required hearing obligation will be fulfilled. Another example, due to the proximity of our communities, we often find that we drive right through Rochester to get to the northern properties in the city. By combining field work, for example, permits, work for either community can be completed in the same trip. By continuing to be efficient and well-organized, we'll work toward accomplishing the additional workload with minimal amount of impact. This is a win-win for both communities and a great example of a continued alliance with our neighbors and sister city. For Rochester, a partnership with the neighboring city offers the potential for a more localized focus and enhanced service responsiveness. For Rochester Hills, it is an opportunity to leverage its professional team, achieve greater economies of scale, and realize an innovative revenue stream, positioning us as a regional leader in municipal service sharing. This agreement provides both communities with an overall savings without diminishing the level of service and strengthening inter-community collaboration. City Council, this agreement makes sense. It demonstrates innovation, collaboration, and strong, straightforward, good governance. Plus, it showcases Rochester Hills as a leader in service sharing. With that, we respectfully request that City Council approves the interlocal agreement for assessment services. And we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taylor. We do have some council comments and questions. Vice President Mangioli.
Thank you, President Carlock. And Ms. Taylor, thank you very much for answering my questions. And because you were so thorough with the presentation here, I don't have to ask them to become part of the record because Ms. Taylor's presentation covers everything that was there. As one of the representatives on our sister city committee, I'm always glad to see us doing some extra work with Rochester as a sister city. As you know from my questions, I was very concerned about our staff, to make sure that we weren't stressing our staff, stretching them too thin, and that we would have to acquire more staff, which Rochester could do if they wanted to. So I'm very glad to hear that we're okay on that part. I will say one of the first things I did when I saw all the legalese of the interlocals, I went down to the bottom page and looked at the bottom line to see that what our cost would be or our revenue stream would be as a result of doing this work. And so when you assured me in your comments that we're not as expensive as some of the for-profit companies that are out there, but we're not as cheap as, we're not selling ourselves short when it comes to the charges we're going to have for Rochester, I felt relieved to know that you're putting the appropriate value on our staff and our staff's time. So thank you very much for all of the work. I'm glad to see we're partnering up with them. And then tonight, coming into the Board of Review, I had no idea what all these cars in the parking lot were for. I thought, what are we talking about on our agenda this evening? So I saw the signs for Board of Review inside, so now I understand, and I guess next year we'll have a few more people coming in then.
There you go.
Okay, with that, President Carlock, I move the resolution in our packet.
Thank you, Vice President Mangioli. I have a motion by Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Councilwoman Neubauer. Next up, Ms. Menino.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Taylor, just to follow up, I read through the agreement. I just want to confirm, is this for part-time services that Rochester Hills will provide to Rochester based on as needed, or we're signing up for a very specific scope of work? Because that wasn't clear in the agreement.
Okay.
So I want to understand how it's going to work.
It will be part-time assessing services, which is what they were receiving, very similar to what they were receiving through Oakland County. Maintenance of their permits, sales reviews, opening and closing the assessment role, doing their board of reviews, taking in their PTAs and PREs, the regular maintenance of the assessment role.
Okay, so there already is then a very specific scope for part-time work that Rochester Hills will be taking on and then charging Rochester.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not, I'm calling you up because I need something. It's very specific, as called out in the scope of work.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That was, and the second is, and I think Ms. Mangioli had it in her communications, you guys have a fully loaded cost going over, right, in terms of head count, the overhead that we're charging to Rochester in the costing.
Right. We've looked at all of the numbers and what professional services charge and what other counties charge and that kind of thing.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you. I'm good. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Ms. Menino, I see no other council comments. Administration, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, President Carlock. I would just say that I want to compliment Ms. Taylor and Ms. Somerville for being brave enough to go after this. In year 45 of service to the city, it would be probably easier not to undertake a significant expansion or to change the way that you've done business for a long time. And Ms. Somerville is only a few years behind her, not that many years behind her despite her young looks. And I'm just really impressed and grateful. They did a ton of research. The two of them are a pretty powerful tag team. And this wouldn't be possible with other communities, the sort of the geographic makeup. Even if you looked at a map, there's sort of the nougat center to our donut or whatever edible item you'd like to make. Of course, surely this will get back to Rochester and I'll have to respond to some emails. But I just really want to thank Lori and Karen for doing this. This does make sense, and it's not often that you find win-wins, but it is nice. We have a great relationship with Rochester. They are incredibly grateful for this because their other options are not optimal, and they know the level of professionalism that we will bring better service for their residents and a revenue stream for ours. So I want to publicly thank them both for their leadership and for undertaking this. And I didn't even have to coax them. They said, we can do this, Mayor, and we're excited about it. So looking forward to hopefully the council support tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Barnett. So seeing no further council comments or questions, I have a motion by Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Ms. Neubauer. I will read the resolution somewhere on one of these screens. Got too much stuff open. Okay. That is the wrong one. This is the right one. Whereas the City of Rochester has requested that the City of Rochester Hills provide assessing services, and the City of Rochester Hills has agreed to provide said services, and as a result requires an interlocal agreement for assessment services between the City of Rochester and the City of Rochester Hills. Therefore, be it resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby approves the interlocal agreement between the City of Rochester Hills and the City of Rochester to provide assessment services for the period April 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029, and authorizes Mayor Barnett to enter into said agreement. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
very
for all
much.
the work on this. Next up, item 2026-0087, request for purchase authorization, fire blanket purchase order for the purchase of emergency medical supplies in the amount not to exceed $228,600 through January 31st, 2028. Bound Tree Medical LLC, Dublin, Ohio. Captain Matz.
Good evening, President Carlock, Vice President Mangioli, City Council members, Mayor Barnett. I'm before you tonight to request the authorization for the blanket purchase order for emergency medical supplies covering the 2026 through 2028 fiscal years with a total not to exceed the $228,600. This contract is facilitated through a longstanding procurement consortium with the City of Farmington Hills and the Southeast Michigan Medical Supply Cooperative, a partnership that has benefited our city for over 20 years. Following the competitive bidding process, the contract was awarded to Bound Tree Medical LLC. Given that medical emergencies account for about 85% of what your fire department does, securing competitive pricing for these essential supplies is critical. This assessment ensures significant savings on core products while allowing us to maintain high-quality service and a relationship with Bound Tree Medical, our current incumbent provider. And I am available here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much, Captain Matz. Seems like this is a pretty necessary item for the fire department. I have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mr. Limburg. Seeing no council comments or questions, I'll read the resolution. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a blanket purchase order for the purchase of emergency medical supplies to Bound Tree Medical LLC in the amount not to exceed $228,600 through January 31st, 2028. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Next up, item 2026-0084, request for purchase authorization parks. Blanket purchase order contract for construction of the grounds maintenance fuel station in the amount of $92,851.95 with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $9,285.20 for a total not to exceed project amount of $102,137.15. Lang Constructors, Inc., Flint, Michigan. Mr. Elwert.
Good evening again, and you have Ms. McBride up just for the duration with these. So you have before you a request to, as you had indicated, install fuel tanks, above-ground fuel tanks at the grounds maintenance office in Borden Park. The lot is, or that yard is fully secured with 8-foot fencing and gated on that. And the reason this is necessary is we literally 3 times a week, sometimes much more than that, depending on the week, actually, during the summer, we'll go over to the DPS lot and fill up many cans of gas in a EPA-approved, OSHA-approved manner and security, but it's still a risk to the city and takes substantial time. We've been working with the fire department and building department to review the plans. They meet all our ordinances on that, and I think I will just open it up for additional questions. Please note, though, that the next 2 items are also related to this. The net cost is about $130,000, still under budget, but the net cost is around $130,000 when you add all the fees in and the professional engineering that will be coming. So with that, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Elwert. We do have some questions and comments. Vice President Mangioli.
Thank you, President Carlock. So, Mr. Elbert, thank you very much for your answers to my questions. On the fueling station, all 3 of them, yes, engineering services and design, so all of those will end up going together. My questions had to do with, if it's just at Borden, it's only going to Borden, but you're saying we're going to be using it for other places. We'll come to Borden for gas as well, fueling as well, so.
Yes, that's the one question that I didn't know how long I would be able to secure, so I want to get the answers out to you. So I didn't, but I did get a confirmation from Mr. Watterson at DPS, who coordinates the city fuel program, that there are no additional costs for a second drop-off.
Okay, yeah, because that was my concern, is that suddenly we would find that when they bring the fuel in and leave it at DPS, it's one fee, but when they had to go to 2 places, it would start costing us more. So thank you very much for finding out about that. And the fact that it is all safe, secure, that the staff have to have a badge to get into there, so it's not like anybody, the mayor could drive up his car and fuel it for.
We've specifically taken his code off of the.
That felt very pointed, Ms. Mangioli.
It actually does use, and I found out more about this detail this afternoon, it does use the same exact system that DPS does. It's My Fuel Buddy app, essentially. So, but it does tie into the exact same system that DPS uses for their gas at their lot.
Okay, and the fact that we're doing risk mitigation with this, and there is no additional cost to us as far as staff time, it might actually be a savings in the long run for us to not have staff wasting their time driving back and forth between different facilities just to get gas, especially as we head into the summer season. That part's important. Do we know how quickly they can get this pumping station up for us?
Yeah, because it's actually already sort of under contract in this job contracting. We're hoping the plan is as soon as the weather breaks that they will be on the ground. So it's about a month-long project is what the contractor has estimated. We're hoping before June is the plan, and possibly a little earlier than the target is before Memorial Day, but things happen. So we wanted to get it in as soon as possible. So.
And this way we'll be able to do it during those peak summer season while we're using a lot of fuel for the lawn equipment or the gardening piece. So-
Yes, and we also wanted them out of the way for the Festival of the Hills, yes.
Oh, that's true. I just didn't think about the fireworks in there, too. That could be an interesting firework. But thank you again for all the information that you shared. And with that, President Carlock, I move the resolution in our packet.
Thank you, Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Ms. Menino. And some comments from Ms. Menino.
Yeah, Mr. Elwood, just a quick question. So the plan then is to establish the fuel tanks at the Borden location. Is that going to be then the focal point to disperse to all the parks?
Yes, sort of. You know, the grounds maintenance office is based at Borden Park. It is a separate division and a separate operations that serves all of the city, not just the parks, but Auburn Road corridor, vegetation in Hamlin, all the roundabouts. And so, you know, they're literally starting base of operation is there. And so they have many pieces of equipment and mowers that need to be fueled regularly. This wouldn't be fueling the vehicles, the pickup trucks or anything like that. They still need to go to DPS for that. But this would essentially centralize the gas at an already centralized grounds maintenance location. It really doesn't have anything specifically to do with Borden Park.
So in today's environment, though, the gas is coming from DPS up to then the grounds, where the equipment's located at the grounds?
That is the current operation.
That's what I'm saying. Okay,
Yes,
so this is
and
actually much more efficient.
Yes.
To just put it on site. I wasn't aware. Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Thank you very much. One question for you, Mr. Elward, is it looks like it's 2 500-gallon tanks.
Correct.
Is that enough for one whole season? Do we anticipate, or would they need to be refilled throughout a season?
I actually don't know the answer to that question. I can check, but my understanding is that deliveries are covered under our current fuel contract. So if they have to come out again, it would be covered under our current fuel contract.
Okay,
on that. And it is for unleaded and diesel, essentially one tank for each.
Oh, one tank for each, okay.
Yes.
And that was my question, was we just approved the gasoline for, I don't know, the next couple of years, just a couple meetings ago. So that amount that we approved, you know, will that need to be amended because now we have an extra 1,000 gallons of storage? Do we, you know, will we want to top that up?
No, because we were taking that gas from DPS anyway, and we're just not going to be taking it from their storage tanks, essentially.
Got it, got it. Okay, well, thank you very much. I have a motion by Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Councilwoman Menino. I'll read the resolution, seeing no further council comments or questions. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a blanket purchase order contract for construction of the grounds maintenance fuel station in the amount of $92,851.95 with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $9,285.20 for a total not to exceed project amount of $102,137.15 to Lang Constructors, Inc., Flint, Michigan, and further authorizes the procurement manager to execute an agreement on behalf of the city. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up, item 2026-0085, request for purchase authorization parks contract blanket purchase order for the professional services and license fees for the grounds maintenance fuel station in the amount of $4,643.59 with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $464.36 for a total not to exceed project amount of $5,107.95. Gordian, Greenville, South Carolina. Mr. Elward.
Yes, so same project, but this particular contract is what allows us to do what's called this job order contracting or what have you. Even though it's, you know, a small fee on top of things, it's what really allows us to do these small projects. And so they already have a series of essentially multiple different small construction firms under their contract, and then they review and check what they're able to do. Normally, this process, we would never be able to get on the ground in April if I was bringing it to you now, and it would be rare to get it done in 4 weeks. So that's essentially what this does for us in this circumstance on these smaller projects. It's very hard to find contractors that will just do this during a normal bidding process. So.
Got it. Thank you very much. I don't see any council comments or questions. I have a motion by Councilwoman Newbauer, seconded by Councilwoman Menino. With no comments and questions, I'll read the resolution here. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a contract blanket purchase order for the professional services and license fees for the grounds maintenance fuel station to Gordian, Greenville, South Carolina, in the amount of $4,643.59 with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $464.36 for a total not to exceed project amount of $5,107.95, and further authorizes the procurement manager to execute an agreement on behalf of the city. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up,
Thank you.
item 2026-0086, request for purchase authorization, Parks contract blanket purchase order for construction engineering services for the grounds maintenance fuel station in the amount not to exceed $16,110, Spalding DeDecker, Rochester Hills, Michigan. Mr. Elward.
So welcome again. Project number, or part number 3, you have electricity and gasoline. We'd prefer to have professional engineers looking at the construction engineering as we're going ahead and doing this. So it's the request for Spalding Director, DeDecker, one of our contract engineers to the city.
Yeah, and Mr. Lindberg, as the closest council member, also appreciates that. I have a motion by Councilwoman Newbauer, seconded by Vice President Mangioli. Seeing no council comments or questions, I'll read the resolution here. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a contract blanket purchase order for construction engineering services to Spalding DeDecker, Rochester Hills, Michigan, in the amount not to exceed $16,110, and further authorizes the procurement manager to execute an agreement on behalf of the city. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes as well. All right. Next up, item 2026-0088, request for purchase authorization, Parks. Purchase of parking kiosk equipment and services in the amount not to exceed $40,560 for a 3-year period. Arrive, Moorestown, New Jersey. Mr. Elward?
Okay, hello again. And I want to mention that Mrs. McBride here put in a ton of legwork on researching this and pulling these off, and she'll be able to answer any detailed questions you might have tonight. But overall, we're requesting permission to basically install 4 parking kiosks to implement the Park Mobile system, 3 at Bloomer Park and 1 at Innovation Hills. There's a small amount of ongoing fees that are attached to that. And one thing to point out, that the installation costs are essentially cost neutral. We were able to use the Green City funds through the Solid Waste Fund to fund these, because they are solar kiosks. We don't have to run electric to them or do any of that. So we're able to utilize these green funds that we've obtained through the solid waste contract and working with fiscal as well. Even the costs, ongoing costs, or at least for this year, we also have some Bloomer funds from a drainage study that won't be implemented due to the partnership implemented with Oakland County. So even though there is not a direct budget for it, we're not asking for any additional general fund fees because of those changes. And with pending any further questions.
Thank you very much. We do have some questions and comments on this one. And Vice President Mangioli.
You had to know I was going to ask because I sent the email with all these questions that I had for you, more in general on the parking piece as well as using the parking pass stations at the parks. But your comment now on solar concerns me because I don't know about you, but I haven't seen much sun from January through
It's
most
very
of
depressing,
February.
yes.
So what happens when there's no sun for solar charging of these parking kiosks?
Yeah, I can speak to that, and thanks for having me tonight. So this company arrived, they're a cooperative company with Park Mobile, and they've been doing these parking kiosks, the solar-powered ones, for 20 years, and the city of Detroit's actually had them for 15 years, and they haven't had any power issues. So, and they're a company based out of the Northeast and have a lot of issues with not a lot of issues, excuse me, but we're areas where we don't see a lot of sunlight, and there haven't been power issues, is what the rep guarantees me, is what he says.
Guarantees, okay, so if the kiosk is there, but the sun isn't, the residents are not going to be held accountable for not being able to get a parking sticker for the day, right?
That's not a concern that we have based on my conversations with them.
Okay, great, thank you. And then for the questions, President Carlock, if we could put the questions that Mr. Elbert answered for me by email as part of the record, because a lot of it had to do with the selling passes on site and having somebody there with the annual pass to be able to be sold, but also the ROI on the investment of this equipment. One other thing, because in all the discussion about the finances, at our last meeting, we approved the saver policy that the leftover money from last year was going to go into this account. Would you be able to do this if we had the saver policy in place? I mean, we have it in place now, but because you're taking money from other budget areas, taking it from funds, or because we're not doing a survey because the county is doing the survey, there's different pieces. The overages or the unspent money, if I'm saying it correctly, Mr. Mayor, the unspent money that's from different projects would go into this saver fund. And then the saver fund would be able to protect a project in case there was overages in it. So I'm not sure how maybe I'll send an email after this meeting to
I was
Mr.
going to
Snyder
suggest that
and
Mr.
you.
Snyder would certainly be able to answer in detail, but my understanding that this particular project wouldn't necessarily apply under that saver policy directly, because it's due more to projects that are sort of overages of things council has already approved. And I don't want to go too far down this road. I have read that policy in detail and had conversations with Mr. Snyder on it. But once the money is in that fund per city council budget amendments, then that limits per that policy what you can use that funding for.
Okay, so I will send a separate email to Mr. Snyder and copy you and the mayor relative to how this would be impacted by the saver policy, and as we put it in place at the last meeting. So.
And Mr. Snyder has seen these as well, and I don't believe there's any impact on this project from the saver policy, because we're not asking for funds from that.
Okay, and Ms. McBride, thank you so much for taking the initiative to make this possible for us. Having those kiosks hopefully will be beneficial to the residents, not necessarily a profit center for us, but a convenience center for us. So thank you very much for making that happen for our residents and make their lives a little easier when they come to visit our parks. And with that, President Carlock, I move the resolution in our packet.
Thank you, Vice President Mangioli. Mr. Elbert or Ms. McBride, these kiosks are tied into the Park Mobile system somehow?
The Park what?
The Park Mobile system. So
Yes.
you can either pay on site using a credit card at one of these kiosks or pay through the app.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. We do have some additional comments and questions here. Ms. Menino.
I just had a quick question on Arrive. So do we have some type of a service agreement for ongoing troubleshooting maintenance with the kiosks? Because I know I struggle in Rochester parking and dealing with those kiosks, and I don't know what the situation is with this one. That's my question.
Yes, we do have an ongoing service agreement, so that'll last at least, for this sake, it'll be 3 years. So that we have, and we're able to call them with issues, and then they'll provide on-site training, and we'll make sure multiple staff are trained on them, how to fix them.
Is that part of this approval here, or is that a separate contract or service agreement?
That's part of this.
It is part of it?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't see it in
Yeah, so there's initial installation costs, and then there's just the ongoing service costs for years 1, 2, and 3.
years 1, 2, and 3. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I was made aware I didn't get a second for my motion, so I have a motion by Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Ms. Newbauer. We do have some additional comments, questions. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I don't know if this will, hopefully won't affect Ms. Menino's vote, but Park Mobile is the same as downtown Rochester, correct?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, so you'll have trouble here too now, so hopefully you'll get used to that. I would just say I'll let CFO Snyder comment on that. It was a good question. But I am actually pretty excited that we're able to find a funding source that isn't actually out of our budget. You know, I mean, it is in a sense, but these are, you know, monies that are collected through our garbage bills used to and reinforce the green mission of the city. And because these are solar, we actually came up with this idea and thought, well, maybe we can fund them from that. So it isn't touching, you know, the budget as it might normally do. So good question, good. I'm glad to see that it's already being used in the vernacular here, the Saver Fund, but I think this is another good creative funding source for us to be able to fund these things, and they certainly meet the mission of what that fund was set up for. So thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Barnett. Seeing no further council comments or questions, I have a motion by Vice President Mangioli, seconded by Councilwoman Newbauer. Read the resolution here. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes the purchase of parking kiosk equipment and related services in the amount not to exceed $40,560 for a 3-year period, and provides authorization for variable credit card payment service fees to be paid based on actual fees incurred to arrive Morristown, New Jersey. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, item 2026-0095, request for purchase authorization parks, project budget for purchase of various playground equipment, parts and repair supplies in the amount not to exceed $150,000 through December 31st, 2028, state contracts, national cooperative contracts, and other supply sources. Mr. Elwood.
I'm just here for moral support. This is Kelly's presentation.
This
So.
is, got it.
Yes, so I'll take this one. And actually, the last time I was in front of you, I was talking about this fund for us to be able to replace our playground parts. So this is just re-upping that blanket purchase. So it's for $150,000. We have $50,000 budgeted annually for this. So what we're trying to do is just get ourselves out to the 3 years so that we don't have to keep coming back, honestly, just to be able to do that. And that should get us covered for the next 3 years. So this will help keep our playgrounds in service a lot faster. And this also broadens it beyond one partner that we were using before and opens us up to other vendors. We have a lot of playground vendors across the city, which makes our playgrounds really fun. But it was challenging to procure all of those parts using only one vendor. So this gives us some more opportunities to get those parts faster.
Thank you very much. Just one question, the $50,000 per year is just parts. That's not painting new, you know, if something needs to be repainted or, you know, we need to put mulch down somewhere. I don't know if any of them still have mulch.
That's correct. It's all replacement parts. So you think like slide pieces, bolts, swings, chains, even some bigger items as well. But a lot of things that are the bigger items are usually under warranty. But yeah, you think like slides and chains and things like that.
Got it, got it. Thank you very much. I have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mr. Limburg. I don't see any council comments or questions on this, so I'll read the resolution. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a project budget for purchase of various playground equipment parts and repair supplies utilizing state contracts, national cooperative contracts, and other supply sources in the amount not to exceed $150,000 through December 31st, 2028. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you. We
Thanks.
appreciate the time tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next up, any other business? I don't see any other business before the Rochester Hills City Council today, so I have a motion by, do we have a motion? Yes, Mr. Blair, yeah. We have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Councilwoman Newbauer to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, nobody wants to stick around, hang out with me for a little while? Oh, okay. Our next meeting will be held March 23rd, which is my birthday, 2026 at 7 p.m. Yes.